What's going on, everybody? We are back here on Madden 21. Going to be doing a fantasy draft here in franchise. Every year, whenever the new game comes out, I always like to do fantasy drafts because that's definitely one of the funnest things to do in Madden franchise. So we're going to draft our team and try to rebuild them and win a championship. We're picking the Chargers only because they have good jerseys. It doesn't really matter. So I'd like to introduce you to new head coach, Tai Ni Wang, with two G's in his name because Wang is apparently inappropriate according to Madden. So Tiny Wang with two G's is now the head coach of the LA Chargers as we go on to the fantasy draft. Hopefully we have the pick somewhere in the middle or so, and we have the last pick of the draft. Fun. Well, at least it's a serpentine draft, so this means every time we get to pick, we have back-to-back selections. There are quite a bit of talented players left on the board, so even though we don't get our first choice at like a lot of players, there are still some really good guys here. But one of the most important things about building a football team is having a good pass rush. So we're going to start with Khalil Mack here in the first round. And, oh wait, we're up again because of the Serpentine draft. So I kind of wanted to go with a young quarterback like Burrow or Tua or Herbert, but Russell Wilson's there for the taking. I'm not going to let him slide. So Russell Wilson will be the quarterback of our team, as he's always really good in sim, and obviously he's one of the best quarterbacks in real life. Round 3. You know what's super scary about having one pass rusher? When you have another elite pass rusher. So we're going to add Chandler Jones. Round 4, another glitchy defender, Harrison Smith. I don't know if he's as glitchy as he was in Madden 20. We'll see. So now in round 5, kind of want to go back to the offensive side of the ball since we've used 3 of our first 4 picks on defense. Going to be selecting offensive guard Ali Marpet. Round 6, I want to look at wide receiver. We got a few choices. DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Brown. We're going to go with Brown here. It doesn't really matter. They're all 23 years old. They're all pretty much the same rating. So we're going to select A.J. Brown to be our top receiver. Round 7, I have no clue how Devin White is still available, but we're going to change that. Devin White now with the Chargers. I think 78 is kind of disrespectful for him. I think he should be in the 80s. Round 8, going to continue to bolster the offensive line, adding David DeCastro to the squad, 91 overall with superstar development. We have not touched corner yet, and there really aren't many good corners available. So we're going to go young here, selecting Jalen Johnson, the rookie from the Chicago Bears with this selection. He's only a 73 overall, but I'm mainly focused on winning a championship in like 3 years rather than this season. So by the time we're at the end of the video, Johnson should be in the 80s. Round 10, Rodney Hudson. He is 31, but he doesn't really regress too badly in this game. So by the time we are a contender, he should still be pretty good. Round 11, finally going to draft a running back, Miles Sanders, the talented Philadelphia Eagle. It's always important to have a good running back in this game, so I'm a little bit worried that him only being an 81 overall won't be great. Round 12, Raekwon McMillan, only 24 years old, very talented linebacker. Going to run a 3-4 defense, so him and Devin White will be in the middle. Khalil Mack and Chandler Jones will be our 3-4 outside linebackers. Going to add another young receiver, Justin Jefferson is now with the team, the rookie of the Minnesota Vikings. On to round 14, I'm very surprised to see Javon Kinlaw still available, but we're going to change that. Kinlaw now with the squad, probably going to have him at 3-4 defensive end. Round 15, we got James Daniels. We've only drafted interior offensive linemen so far, but we can always move a few guys over to offensive tackle if need be. On to the 16th round now. Want to improve the secondary. We only have 2 defensive backs so far. So we're going to add Chuck Clark of the Ravens. Hopefully we can keep Earl Thomas off this team. Wink, wink. Round 17. Noah Fant was surprisingly still available. I always neglect tight ends in fantasy drafts. I don't know why. But Noah Fant here in the 17th round is a really good pick. Round 18. Want to get ourselves another corner. So we're going to go with Levi Wallace. He's been on the board for a while. I guess he's been on the board since the draft started. And I figured, you know what, might as well take him here. Round 19, want to add another defensive end, so we're going to go with the young Marcus Davenport. Round 20, to my surprise, Brandon Ayuk is still available, along with a lot of the other young talented receivers like Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman. They're all still there, but we're going to go with Ayuk because he is a hidden dev. On to round 21, it's very important to have a good special teams. So I figured, you know what? Screw it. Let's get Justin Tucker right here. We still have a few starting positions to fill, but I would rather have Justin Tucker than some scrub 65 overall kicker. Round 22, going to add a change of pace back with Jonathan Taylor. All of the rookie running backs got picked super late. I think Taylor was the last one available, so that's why I chose him. Round 23, going to booster the defensive line with Christian Wilkins. I know Kayvon Chason was there, but I think Christian Wilkins is probably going to be a better fit with the scheme since we already have our two main 3-4 outside linebackers. Going to add one more piece to the offensive line, Corey Linsley. So this means I've drafted more Packer players than more Lions. This is relevant because I am a Lions fan in real life who hates the Packers. So we drafted like 24, 25 players, and we're going to simulate the rest of the draft because, well, I'll let the game draft our backups.
A few moments later.
Alrighty, now into the rebuild portion of the video. We're not going to make any trades this first season because I really like where the roster is, and I don't plan on making too many gigantic trades today, mainly because I really like where the roster is at the moment. Maybe I want to pick up a really big running back if Miles Sanders and Jonathan Taylor can't really cut it. But other than that, I really like the offensive line, the receiving core. Obviously, we're set at quarterback. The linebacking core is great. However, the defensive line and secondary could use a little bit of work, I will say. So those are positions we're probably going to look to upgrade within these first few seasons. And then special teams, we're set at kicker. We didn't draft a punter, so I guess Justin Tucker is going to punt, which is fine by me because he's probably really good at punter too because it's EA Sports. You can switch around like as many positions as you want. Like he can be as good at a kicker as you are a punter, which isn't realistic, but I mean, we shouldn't have realistic expectations for this game. Anyway, first round bye in year one, we went 12-4, top seed in the AFC. We started the year off 4-4 and then won 8 straight down the stretch. We finished tied for the best record in football along with the Bucks, Ravens, and Vikings. So looking at these statistics, Russell Wilson was outstanding, 4,300 yards, 41 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was great. Jonathan Taylor is actually the leading rusher. Miles Sanders only played in 10 games, so he must have gotten hurt. Jonathan Taylor's longest run was 8 yards. Miles Sanders' longest run was 9 yards. EA needs to fix the sim engine when it comes to like 80 overall running backs running the ball because 80 overall running backs in sim like absolute garbage. A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson, though, were both outstanding. And then Noah Fant with 13 touchdowns. So it looks like the passing offense was really good this year. The offensive line was obviously very good. Obviously, offensive line was a major priority of mine in the draft. Devin White, the leading tackler, didn't get as many sacks as I would have hoped for. Khalil Mack and Javon Kinlaw with 8. Chandler Jones with 7.5. I mean, not terrible, but I would have liked to have seen Mack and Jones do more. Chuck Clark with 4 interceptions. Leading the way, Christian Sam was the only player of multiple fumble forces, even though he's not a starter. I guess I'll take it. As Russell Wilson would win the MVP. How about that? I mean, he had obviously a very good supporting cast, but it's still really good to see him getting that honor. Unfortunately, Justin Jefferson couldn't really make a race in the Rookie of the Year voting since all 3 of the top quarterbacks were drafted in the AFC. Jonathan Taylor actually finished above Jefferson, which I disagree with. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Patrick Queen and the Colts. The Colts also have Jeff Okudah and Chase Young, so that defense looks terrifying for the future. Other than that, we did not get any other award winners, which makes sense. Nobody else really jumped off the page statistically. So in our first playoff game, we would take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who finished with a record of 9-7. They have a very solid roster. Ezekiel Elliott, Joe Burrow leading the way. They also have Yannick Ngakoue on this team. How ironic. As they've got themselves a good roster. This is a game we should win, however. And I think we probably will win it. And we do. 31-29. We beat them by 2. Now we have the Baltimore Ravens. And this team is scary. Von Miller, who's a glitch in Madden 21. Derrick Henry. DeForest Buckner. Bunch of other really great players. Their quarterback is Cam Newton, who usually does very well in Madden 21 Sim. So this is going to be a very, very tough game for our Chargers. We're going to simulate to the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, we would not get lucky. We ended up losing to Baltimore, who plays San Francisco in the Super Bowl. That's actually a realistic Super Bowl, ironically. The Ravens ended up beating the Niners 24-21 in the big game. So in fantasy drafts, there's no one good in free agency. We didn't re-sign anybody because there's nobody important there. Gonna offer one player in this year's free agency class, tight end Jeff Swaim, because Noah Fant's the only tight end on our roster, so I figured we could use another one. So now on to the NFL draft. Eventually, I do plan on doing realistic rebuilds with the actual draft classes, but for right now, we are going to use the auto-generated classes. So with our first round pick, we're going to go safety Dewan Weathersby out of USF. He is a 75 with normal dev. I swear, like, there are barely any hidden devs this year in the auto-made classes, which is really annoying. Also, the late rounds are super deep in comparison to normal, so these auto-generated classes are really bad. Round 2, defensive tackle Thomas Gold, 78 overall, the second-ranked player in the entire class, and normal dev. The rest of our picks are pretty solid. All of them have normal, unsurprisingly. I have been unable to draft a hidden dev player yet, on camera and off camera, so that's fun. On to Season 2, the offense is exactly the same. A lot of our young guys like Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, they're higher rated. And then defensively, for the most part, it is the same other than Dewan Weathersby and Thomas Gold starting. But other than that, and Chuck Clark moving to corner, he's going to be the slot corner. But other than that, the defense is pretty much the exact same. Despite this, we do not make the playoffs. We ended up going 7-8-1, so that's an oof. As we look at the numbers, this disappointment of the season is at no fault to Russell Wilson. He was great. Miles Sanders does stay healthy. He rushes for over 1,000 yards. However, his longest run this year was 9. Justin Jefferson had another outstanding year. So did A.J. Brown, both of them finishing with over 1,000 yards. Noah Fant was a little bit quieter, but he still did his thing. The offensive line, again, was great. Devin White, once again, led the team in tackles. Sacks, Khalil Mack was 7.5. Chandler Jones only 4.5. We're really not generating enough pressure. I mean, those two guys cannot be combining for 12 sacks. I'm looking for them to get 12 sacks each. So here's a look at the awards. The Titans got very lucky. They had the best quarterback with Lamar Jackson, the best running back with Le'Veon Bell, and the best wide receiver with Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk was a glitch in franchise simulation in Madden 20. Now that he's on the Titans in Madden 21 and this, that's scary because whoever the slot receiver in the Titans playbook is always dominates. So prepare for Christian Kirk to be like a 95 overall soon. We didn't re-sign anybody once again. Going on to free agency, there is more talent, but we don't have that many holes to fill for the most part, so we didn't really go after too many guys. Now on to the NFL draft. The Packers had the number 1 overall pick. Fun. In the draft, we're probably going to be looking at secondary, defensive line, maybe offensive line. Maybe if we find a really good running back, we might pull the trigger. So with the 11th pick, we're going to go with cornerback Courtney Hickman from Texas. He is a 76 overall with, you guessed it, normal development trait, because I cannot draft a hidden for the life of me, and I don't think that's me having bad luck. I just think Madden's auto classes are really bad. Linebacker Devin Holt in the second round, 74 normal. Offensive lineman Jason O'Neal is a 73 with normal. We would go forth with the rest of the draft, and we didn't really get anyone too special. The roster, for the most part, is pretty much the same as last year, other than young guys progressing and some of the older players like Chandler Jones and Harrison Smith starting to regress. I made a playbook change defensively. It was the Packers playbook, but now it is the Steelers playbook. So hopefully guys like Khalil Mack and Chandler Jones can get some more sacks as we end up finishing 13-3, good enough for the 2 seed in the AFC. Unfortunately, 2 seeds don't get buys anymore, so we do the first round game. Russell Wilson had a great year. Jonathan Taylor was actually the leading rusher. Miles Sanders got hurt again, and he did not play all that well when he was healthy. Receiving, Brandon Ayuk was our top receiver. Both Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown did get injured. Both of them were on pace for over 1,000 yards, so that makes sense. Noah Fant with 11 touchdowns, by the way. That's fun. The offensive line was great once again. Defensively, Levi Wallace led the team in tackles. Probably not a good thing considering he's the corner. Khalil Mack with 16 sacks. The playbook change certainly worked. Chandler Jones only finished with 7 sacks, but hopefully he's at least getting QB pressures and QB hits. Devin White, Harrison Smith, Levi Wallace, each with 3 picks. That's fun. Tiny Wang does not win Coach of the Year. That's sad. So Russell Wilson wins Offensive Player of the Year. Patrick Onwuasor wins Defensive Player of the Year. Okay. Christian Kirk, by the way, ended up winning Best Receiver once again. He is a 93 overall already. So, as you can see, the slot receiver for the Titans doing damage. David DeCastro won Best Offensive Lineman. Khalil Mack won Best Linebacker. So, it is good seeing our guys rack up some awards. In the wild card game, we are playing the 7-seeded Miami Dolphins, who have a pretty solid roster, but, I mean, we should beat these guys pretty easily. Their quarterback is 45-year-old, 77 overall Tom Brady. So, Brady is still kicking it. He is still starting as a quarterback here in the NFL. He has regressed quite a bit, to say the least. So, we would simulate this game, and we get the win, defeating the Dolphins in a pretty close game. So now we have the Buffalo Bills here in round 2. The Bills got themselves a really good squad. Tua Tagovailoa is their quarterback. I'm sure Dolphins fans really don't like this. Tom Brady is their quarterback, and Tua is with the Bills. The irony. Nick Chubb is also a 99 overall, by the way, for Buffalo, so that's fun. As we would simulate and unfortunately take the L 28-24. So, unfortunately, our season comes to a close. And now going into the offseason, for the first time, we actually have a large chunk of our core needing to be re-signed, and we brought back pretty much everybody. Unfortunately, the 2 corners, Levi Wallace and Chuck Clark, declined. Now, this is going to be the last year of a rebuild, so I figured might as well splurge a little bit in free agency if we want anybody. There is a lot of skill position players, which we don't need. Deontay Harris has superstar development, by the way. I noticed Madden gave all of the top return men superstar dev, which is stupid in my opinion, but oh well. So in free agency, we're going to go after Levi Wallace, Noah Igbenogany, and then we need another quarterback, so Jalen Hurts is going to be signed to be the backup. Chuck Clark was super popular. He had like 11 bids, so that's why we're going after Igbo instead. And luckily, Hurts, Wallace, and Igbenogany would all accept their contracts, so they are all now with our Chargers. I ended up simulating the draft because we're really set on this roster, so I didn't think really any of the rookies could make a huge impact. Looking at the team going into Season 4, once again, the offense is nearly identical outside of center. Corey Linsley is gone, and we added the second-year pro, O'Neal. Defensively, the team is, once again, pretty much the same, other than the swapping of Chuck Clark to now Noah Igbenogany, as we would simulate the season. And once again, our Chargers were very good, finishing with a record of 10-6. We don't win the division because the pesky Broncos, who finished 10-5-1, win the division instead. Looking at the statistics for the team this year, Russell Wilson, again, was great. He was very good all 4 years of the rebuild. Miles Sanders was, I think his longest run in all 4 seasons was 11 yards. Nice. Justin Jefferson and A.J. Brown each finished with over 1,000 yards. Brandon Ayuk ended up leading the team in receptions with 90. The offensive line wasn't as good this year. Ali Marpet allowed 10 sacks, which is a lot, I guess. Devin White led the team in tackles, 10 sacks for Khalil Mack, and Raekwon McMillan at that middle linebacker position, racking up 10 sacks. Even Devin White, 6.5. That's a lot for a middle linebacker. Chandler Jones had 8.5, 3 picks for Harrison Smith and Jalen Johnson, as Jordan Love would win MVP with the 14-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Love was just in free agency. Now he's winning the MVP. And Anthony Lynn wins Coach of the Year over Tiny Wang. That's disappointing considering Tiny Wang replaced Lynn. Here is your award winners for our conference. Russell Wilson ended up winning Best Quarterback. Christian Kirk has now won back-to-back-to-back Best Wide Receivers. I mean, Christian Kirk is one of the cheesiest slot receivers in this game, so you put him with the Titans playbook. I really shouldn't have expected anything less other than him winning all of these playoff games. So we have the Broncos here in round 1. They have a lot of skill position players on offense. Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, Odell Beckham. Their quarterback is 35-year-old Matthew Stafford. So, I mean, obviously, this is the last year of a rebuild. I want to win the Super Bowl, but if I were to choose one quarterback to lose to, I guess it'd be Stafford. And we end up winning. We killed them, 31-7. So now we have the Titans in the second round, and they are really good. Led by Lamar Jackson, who is hurt, so he's not going to be playing. They have our kryptonite, Christian Kirk. You know who their backup quarterback is? none other than the now 46-year-old, 72 overall, Tom Brady. He is still in the league after 23, I guess this is his 24th season now, 46 years old. Is this the oldest quarterback to ever play in the NFL? I don't know. So we're going to simulate, maybe George Blanda has him beat. Blanda played for a while back in like the 1950s. Anyway, we would unfortunately lose to Tom Brady and the Titans 24-21. So unfortunately, that's how the rebuild is going to come to an end. No Super Bowl wins or appearances for our Chargers, but nonetheless, it was fun doing the fantasy draft and seeing these guys develop. If there are any more Madden franchise-related experiments you guys want to see, let me know in the comments below. I plan on bringing rebuilds pretty soon and obviously pumping out plenty of Jaguars franchise content. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the episode. This was a fun video to make for sure. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. And as always, have a good one. Peace.